afternoon, everybody. This is a breaking news story from IDTV News. Mr. Daniel Warmus, aka Auditing Erie County, has appeared on one of our sister channels to give his story about First Amendment auditors. Now, you may have heard of Mr. Warmus before because he was arrested by the FBI for breaching the Capitol building during January 6th. More on that story later, but first we're going to hand it over to Pam and Dan in the newsroom.
Well, is it a constitutional right or is it baiting law enforcement? We're talking about people recording police on their own turf.
They call themselves First Amendment auditors, and sometimes these encounters are confrontational. Daniel Warmus of Alden does a lot of these videos. He recently sat down with News 4 Investigates. Luke Moretti reports.
Can I help you?
See this sign?
Get your hands off
You can
me.
see the sign.
On behalf of the Erie County family, I'd like to thank you, Kay, for your cordialness and perfect public service.
You need to leave the area.
I went into it thinking maybe 35% of them might have had a bad ego or might have come across as a jerk. And after doing it, I'd say that number is probably around 75%.
Daniel Warmus is on a mission.
I saw you were in a restricted area. Now I want your identification.
You're not getting it.
Don't embarrass me. I told him, don't embarrass me.
He's testing the limits of constitutional protections under the First and Fourth Amendments.
Yeah, I'm working on a story, got to get a little information in.
His YouTube channel, Auditing Erie County, has nearly 20,000 subscribers. His videos get thousands of views and hundreds of comments.
I respect law enforcement completely.
Warmus travels the region with a cell phone camera, documenting encounters with police on their own public turf.
They don't own property. It's public property.
From Amherst
Get your hands off me.
Over here.
Get your hands
You
off
want
me.
to see this sign?
to Dunkirk
Am I being detained?
You're not being detained right now.
to Cheektowaga
Do you want to leave or do you want to get arrested?
to Salamanca.
You don't need to take pictures inside the vehicles.
Why not?
Because
A lot of people say, I can't believe you do this. You got a target on your back. I can't believe that, you know, aren't you afraid that they're going to mess with you?
While others just can't believe he does it because why would anybody do it? Clicks and views, that's why. All of the normal people that he knows would ask him these questions, while all of the non-normal people that he's made up in his head would ask him the other questions, such as being targeted, etc. Back to you, Dan.
Warmus will show up at municipal locations and start recording with his phone. He calls it an audit, a concept that's spreading across the country. Not surprisingly, his presence prompts questions, even suspicion, like his visit to the town of Amherst Police and Courts Complex.
We certainly have a responsibility to keep our composure.
Warmus felt that he was within his legal right to access and record outside of the complex, but police challenged him.
It says restricted area.
This public property over here is not restricted access. There's no sign.
It says restricted area.
Warmus later called town supervisor Brian Culpa, and Culpa called him back.
Because a lot of times, you know, a mayor or supervisor or chief, they're not going to call you back.
If they're in a private area, right, you know, if they were in a locked or secure area, if they were inside a secured office environment, that would be a different animal. But if they're in public space, then, you know, they're residents or citizens that, you know, have the right to be there.
Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, Warmus would only ever enter somewhere where he had the absolute right to. Isn't that correct, Dan?
The U.S. Capitol on January 6th of last year was not among the places Warmus had a right to enter, according to the U.S. Justice Department. Warmus was arrested and charged with knowingly entering or remaining in any restricted building or grounds without lawful authority. Federal court papers included photographs of him at the Capitol that day. Warmus declined to talk specifically about the case against him because it's still pending.
Nobody's ever brought it up on an audit or nothing. I'm sure they know.
These days, he's busy focusing on auditing local municipalities, mainly police agencies. And he isn't alone. There are others with similar YouTube channels.
And what they really want is for you to engage with them and to make you look bad.
Across New York State, police are on to this unique social movement.
Now, we would like to hear more from the members of law enforcement who become involved with these individuals. So perhaps Dan can go out and ask the most definitely not Irish descendant person that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Patrick Phelan is the executive director of the New York State Association of Chiefs of Police.
You need to have an understanding of how to react to somebody doing that to you, and understand that the best thing that you can possibly do is just not engage with them.
Daniel Warmus of Auditing Erie County says he tries to keep his encounters as professional as possible. He believes there is a credibility component at stake on both sides of the camera for him and his audience, and the police being tested.
I would consider it investigative journalism. I'm investigating whether the towns or the police departments are going to respect my First Amendment rights to record in public. I want to highlight good police officers. That's my goal. I'm out there to highlight good police officers, but on the aspect of, am I out there to embarrass them? I would much rather use humility.
Now, as you know, us nude broadcasters. Hey, that could be something. Now, as you know, us news broadcasters are not allowed to give our opinion because that would not be right and certainly never ever happens. But what he just said is nonsense. The reason he does this is for clicks and views and money.
If you just help me out and tell me who you are, who you're working for, whatever you're doing, maybe this will go a little better. But this is just a random guy taking pictures of police cars.
Is it illegal?
I didn't say it was illegal, but it's strange.
For police, it's really a training issue to make sure that you don't engage with these folks. If they're legally in a place where they're allowed to be and they're recording, just let them do it.
Daniel Warmus and others who do these First Amendment audits say they have a right to test police when it comes to their restraint and knowledge of the Constitution. And while it's ruffling some feathers here in Western New York and across the country, there's a social media audience out there with a big appetite for more. Luke Moretti, News 4.
Luke? I thought your name was Dan. Or probably Bob. I mean, let's face it, that's usually the names for you guys. Now, we figured it didn't matter what Dan or Bob or whatever this guy's name is thinks, or even what I think. So we decided to head out on the road and ask a couple of members of the public what they thought. Excuse me, madam, would you have some time to talk about First Amendment? No? You're just going to walk away? Oh, she's coming back! Now, it seems that running around the garden chasing butterflies was more important to this lady than First Amendment auditors. But if you've got something to say, you can let us know in the comment section down below. Make sure you hit the like button, comment, and subscribe for more. This was a breaking news story. Sláinte.